Hello, thank you for attending our presentation on the projected rideshare scooter usage through the analysis of rideshare bike usage. We'll talk about background and analytical purpose and goals, potential outcome and possible benefits. We'll address some frequency graphs. We'll look at some correlations. We'll review 4 key questions, review hypothesis and data, and then discuss results and recommendations. Just some high-level background: from 2016 to 2017, rideshare bike presence has more than doubled in the US, from about 42,000 bikes to 100,000 bikes. It is estimated that approximately 1.4 million rides were made on rideshare bikes in 2017 in the US alone. Currently, there are over 500 bike sharing programs worldwide with over 500,000 total bikes. The goal of our discussion today is to forecast potential rideshare scooter usage by studying bike share data as an analytical surrogate. The purpose: through our assessment, we seek to better define those factors most strongly associated with maximum usage patterns of traditional bike rideshare options. The outcome: through our analysis, we hope to better predict the moment of optimal market entry based on seasonal weather parameters in accord with user commitment level. The benefits: in better defining these variables, we hope to bring focus to corporate leadership and prospective investors seeking a more informed analysis to minimize launch capital inefficiencies and optimize the prospect of venture success. The purpose of this slide is really just to demonstrate that as we look at the variables, depending on the comparisons, we can look at the data sets and see that there is a normal distribution across all the data sets with some skewness depending on the variables that we're testing. Some significant correlations that help establish the basis for our research questions and hypothesis. As we can see, we have several correlations when we look at total bikes compared to temperature, season, and weather. The correlations between the 3, temperature, season, and weather, shows some strong significance at a P level of less than 0.001. And we will dive deeper into those correlations as we address the research questions and hypothesis. Research questions that we're exploring today will be 4. The first one we're asking is, will normalized temperature play a role in the number of rideshare scooters? Is rideshare scooter usage across the week impacted by casual or registered user type? What is the ideal weather conditions for optimal use of rideshare users? And what season of the year represents the best opportunity for maximal rideshare usage?
Okay, in order to answer the question, will normalized temperature play a significant role in the number of rideshare users, we propose the null hypothesis of neither registered nor casual riders will be affected by normalized temperature, and the alternate hypothesis that both registered and casual riders take temperature into account when deciding whether or not to use rideshare bikes. We address this by running a quadratic regression model. And if you, in both registered and casual customers, serving as the dependent variable, with temperature and was used as our independent variable. What the model shows is that the R² indicates that there is for the 0.34.7, which is a significant amount, and what it shows is that there is a significant variation in rideshare users dependent on temperature. The quadratic graph shows the relationship between temperature and registered bikes. Now, what the graph shows is that as we approach 0.6 on the graph, there's an increase of riders that escalates pretty steadily. And once we get to that 0.6 and we go past it, we see the inverse start to happen and the rider usage starts to digress. What this shows is that there's a value somewhere near that 0.6, which calculates to about 74 degrees Fahrenheit, where rideshares start to decline. And you'll see that on the next slide. On this slide, you see our R² is 3.18, which translates to about 31% of variance in casual riders. But as you can see, there's still the same gradual incline as we get towards 0.6. And as we move past it, you start to see a little bit of a decrease. Now, this mean line is a little bit flatter opposed to registered users. There's fewer casual users, and they're a little bit more sporadic in the volume of users from day-to-day basis.
For our next question, we took a look at whether rideshare usage across the week is impacted by a user's type, being casual or registered. Our null hypothesis, as stated here, is that there wouldn't be any discernible difference in usage between casual or registered usage, with the alternative reporting that indeed usage throughout the week would vary significantly between casual versus registered user type. These data depict the graph in a visual form, a very definite pattern of usage that is variable depending upon day of week for casual users, and you see the univariate analysis with statistical significance as depicted there above it. For registered users, an opposite relationship exists with a stronger usage pattern days 1 through 5, as you see illustrated here, also with a strong level of significance depicted in the table above. Based on these findings, there does indeed appear to be a significant variation in rideshare usage. Casual users do significantly favor weekend usage patterns with a p-value of less than 0.05. The same being true for registered users who favor weekday usage, same being true, that is, for statistical significance is outlined there with a p-value of less than 0.05. Accordingly, we do reject the null hypothesis.
All right, in order to answer our third research question, what is the ideal weather conditions for optimal use of rideshare scooters? We are looking to hypothesis 3. This hypothesis looks at the relationship between weather, category, and bikes. The test city categorizes their weather into 4 different categories, 1 being clear, few clouds, partly cloudy, going all the way to 4, which is heavy rain. We believe that we will discover that the weather categories will have a significant impact on the amount of rideshare scooters being used. More specifically, we believe that weather category 1 and 2 will correlate with higher usage than category 3 or above. The null hypothesis is that the category of weather will not play a significant role in the usage of rideshare scooters. We do hope that we will be able to make recommendations on the ideal weather environment. On this next slide, we will see a histogram that will make it evident in this test environment that only just 21 days had a weather category of 3, and we had 0 days categorized as 4. This depicts that the test city had the majority of its tested days with relatively calm weather and little precipitation. A t-test, after running this t-test, it is evident that there is a significance between the weather categories and rideship. For this specific test, we compared weather category 1 and 2 against weather category 3, equal to or greater than 3. And this is just because we do not have anything at level 4. This grouping was chosen because 1 and 2 does not have significant precipitation, while 3 and above generally is considered adverse weather conditions. With this t-test, we can reject the null hypothesis. There is a significance seen between weather categories in all rideshare, total bikes, registered users, and casual users.
For our research question number 4, we developed 2 hypotheses. Specifically, the question was, what season of the year represents the best opportunity for maximal rideshare usage? Our null hypothesis was the season of the year will have no impact on rideshare. Alternative hypothesis was that rideshare usage will be impacted by the season. The identified seasons were spring, summer, fall, and winter. When running an initial correlation test, we saw that there is a strong relationship between season and total bike ridership, with a season mean of 2.5, which fell between fall and summer seasons. And there is a strong relationship between the 2 variables as designated by the Pearson correlation. When running a deeper exploration of the data, we also found there were 2 observed outliers as demonstrated on the slide here. While the 2 cases could warrant deeper inspection of the overall integrity of the data was still sound. As we look at a Poisson regression, season 4 was set as the season of reference. So there is a significance of p less than 0.001. So therefore, we do reject the null hypothesis. When compared to season 4, season 1 shows that there is a 45% less ridership. Season 2 is likely to see an increase in 6% ridership, and season 3 is likely to see an increase of 19% ridership.
A quick review of our results. Our initial hypothesis tested with a quadratic regression demonstrated a relationship between ridership with temperature, both for casual and registered riders. Hypothesis 2, ANOVA testing revealed that there was a variation in day of the week rideshare usage based upon a user's casual versus registered status. For hypothesis 3, we utilized a t-test to look at the relationship between weather category, and as we saw, there was indeed a clear relationship between optimal weather pattern and optimal rideshare usage patterns. Same held true for hypothesis 4, where a Poisson regression examined the relationship between usage and seasonal variation, with optimal variation or usage rather occurring between the summer and fall seasons. Based on these findings, we put forward a number of recommendations. Based on our initial question, we recommend that consideration be given to ensure locations are selected with respect to seasonal temperature variation, and that optimal temperature range between 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit is considered as beneficial for increasing ridership. In terms of our second question, as noted, we found significant and nearly opposite differences in usage patterns between registered and casual users. Because of this, we would focus on broadening usage patterns amongst the casual users throughout the week and building loyalty amongst registered users such that any variation in their behavior from their current pattern or developing allegiance to another market entrant becomes either unpalatable or financially untenable for those users. Importantly, in this data set, our data do not reveal the etiology or why this difference exists, and because of that, before investing considerable resources, we think it's reasonable to consider the behavioral, economic, and work-related factors that may also impact this question. For our third question, based on our data, we recommend that the company pursue those locations could be considered with weather categories that fall within the optimal categorization we described, minimal rainy or snowy days. This is intuitive, and our data based on the significance as previously demonstrated support this. In relation to research question 4, recommend that we focus any new launches in the months of summer, or excuse me, in the seasons of summer and or fall. Obviously, for those geographic locations that have traditional 4-season variation, that becomes particularly important. For those geographic locations with less variation, the importance is perhaps somewhat lessened, but nonetheless worthy of accounting for in terms of the initial launch. Thank you for your attention to our presentation. Please reference the appendices if desired you see here.